Hello and welcome to another Making Comics and Art, brought to you by me, Peter Palmiotti, head of Human Art Studios, where we're working hard to bring you comics and art. Um, so, obviously, if you've been here before, you know what I'm doing. But for those who haven't, I'm working on my own creator-owned comic called Retro. I created him in my late teens. Thought up the character. Been sort of developing him on the side, and I decided around 2009 that I've been in this business long enough, and I should really put out my own book because I always knew that um, those creators, writers, artists, whatnot, um, definitely did good if they put out their own comics. And so yeah, it's taken me a long time. Uh, Went through an artist, didn't work out. Found Rich Fuchsia, somebody I worked with previously. Love his work. So these are his fine pencils. You can find him on Instagram and YouTube. Blueprints and Strategies. Go to subscribe and follow him. He's gotten into painting, as well as he draws a lot, and you can check him out. Had him on my channel not too long ago. Um, but yeah, according to the episode's title, your mother's a tracer. That comes from a movie called Chasing Amy, directed and written by Kevin Smith. And I've been asked if that's offensive, being an inker, to be called a tracer. And no, I think it's funny. And it has brought inking, the skill of which is specific to comics, to the general public, or at least those that have seen Chasing Amy. And so I think that's a good positive thing. Those things said in jest are more memorable. But I love freaking inking. Hey, it's Frog G. Welcome, sir. Yeah, we got a couple people watching. Douglas, or Doug, as he likes to be called. Hey, Pete, have been doing well? Excited to see how retro is coming along. Yes, indeedy. This is page 17, so making progress. It's a 28-page story. Plus, I'm going to have a lot of extras in the back of the book because it would be a 40-page book. But yeah, inking has been my love for my whole career, where I started in, I believe it was September. Somebody can vouch for me on that or disavow me on that. But the year was definitely 1991. So coming up on 30 years in the business. And I've worked for Marvel, worked for DC, worked for Valiant, had books published via Image, and worked on a hell of a lot of different independent comics, more than I can remember. Some highlights were where I worked with the penciler that did my book, Rich Fisher. Worked with him up at Everett Hartsoe Studios, London Night Studios it was called. on a book called Razor, which is back in the 90s, one of the bad girl books. Mostly worked with Rich Pollard, another fine artist and good friend from back when. I believe he's retired. But I'll mention Dan Cooney, who I worked with on his creation, Valentine. I helped him out inking a bunch of his books. He's done trades of his books, and he's gone on to bigger success. I believe it's called Tommy Gun Girls. He has had at least one Kickstarter. Um, and that's really, really awesome to see. He's a great guy. Went to San Diego back in 2006 and definitely made sure to go say hi and see him. And we talked a while, of course. And yeah, happy for his success. Because he's originally from New York. So we have many similar friends. But yeah, just a slew of independent books. Like I mentioned, I worked for Valiant back in the day. Up there, I was a background inker. Also worked briefly up at Defiant, which is, those are two different Jim Shooter companies. I had the pleasure to work on a lot of this stuff. But it was bought up by Acclaim. And early 2000s, I did an Armorines miniseries that was supposed to be part of a video game. Fortunately, that never panned out. But the miniseries came out. I just don't think it was highly successful. But that was with Jim Calfarace, and that was cool. And it was always fun to do a miniseries. But yeah, I've been inspired by so many different artists I followed throughout the years. It's like I don't consider myself a comic book collector. I'm really an art collector. And, the big one was Bernie Wrightson, but Pete Craig Russell, Klaus Janson, Scott Williams, Dan Green. I mean, Terry Austin. It's like you could pretty much name anybody who's held a brush in their hands. And, back when I started, it's a much different industry. And I knew my foot in the door was as an inker. And really, I probably wouldn't have even thought of shifting my career if some things didn't majorly change. But as things go, we had computers come in, and it was computer coloring, now it's computer inking. The shift has been for publishers to hire pencilers who ink themselves. And while there still is a group of us, good inkers out there, it's definitely not as many as there once was. But it's still it's a very specific skill. But those that do it well, really well, they're freaking talented people. And it's not as easy as it looks to pull off and always do a good job. For me, it's obviously easier to ink somebody who knows their craft. Like I'm talking specifically like the penciler who does an excellent job, and you just have to go in and embellish, as inkers were originally called, um, as opposed to getting somebody of lesser quality and trying to beef up their work. Um, I love somebody who's somewhere in between. Like Cal Fury is super tight with his pencil work. If you ever had the pleasure of looking at his pencils online, you can find a lot of comic book pencilers' work online if you just Google search and stuff like that. For anybody who's aspiring to be an inker, it's definitely recommended. Just go and try inking some professionals. Um, and then there's super loose pencils, which um, unless they're really, really, really good, it's a lot more work, obviously, to finish that, but also like to figure out what's what. Like somebody I never got to pencil, always wanted to pencil, and I even inked a few of his sample pages back in the day, just for my own pleasure and sort of insights. Was John Romita Jr. And if you ever seen his pencils, man, they could be semi tight, but a lot of like the action scenes where he has like 40,000 characters on 2-page spreads are freaking insane. Am I even on camera? Probably not. Oh, let me do this. I'll do this. Boop, boop, boop. Hold on a second. I always forget to look. Is it clicking? Click, click. Come on. Program takes a minute. Oh, there we go. Okay. I should be on screen better. Um, yeah, he uses like the side of his pencil, and it's it's a lot more difficult to interpret. But I know myself and certain techniques I use. Um, if I was to get something of his sort of style, um, I would put a ton more work into what I see there, doing all fancy parallel lines and putting all new nuances into my lines. And for like a cover or a pinup, that's fine. But we're talking about inking comics. Um, if you sort of interpret some line work a certain way, then you have to be consistently interpreting it that way throughout the book, and that could lead to a ton more work. So to a certain extent, I'm glad I never did ink John Romita, but his earliest stuff was a lot tighter, but also a lot stiffer looking. Although he has a quirky, stiff style sometimes. But that's neither here nor there. Um, but yeah, one of the things is that publishers have been using inkers less and less. That's kind of obvious. If you know anything about the industry, you know the deal as well. Um, Another thing is they've been coloring over pencils that, to me, 9 times out of 10 doesn't work out. Doesn't look anywhere near as good. The reason for inking anyway in the first place was because the quality of the paper and the quality of printing of prison wasn't there originally. So they had inkers ink over the pencils so that when it was printed, you could see the work much better. throughout the work, throughout the years, the art has gotten a lot more extravagant, and the inking of the art has done so as well. And I just love the craft of it. You know, I can go in and ink a page, and um, it 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 always feels like I'm just going in and finishing the work. I'm giving it its final tweaks. Sometimes I throw down a lot more blacks. Um, if the page is lacking, having having a lot of black on a page, and there is a lot of black on this page. I'll probably A lot of times I fill it in first, but I'll probably fill it in last because every panel has black background. This is happens in an office that's dark, and he has a flashlight, but there's only a little light. So most of this page will be black, but like I've inked other artists. I remember specifically a lot of what I was given up at Marvel was like X-Men office stuff, and that was like a couple of pages here, a couple of pages there. Even though I consider myself a slow inker, um, back in the '90s specifically, Marvel was doing a bunch of X-Men books. Like I'm sure they still are doing. I'm not really keeping track. Um, but they had a lot of different people working for them to get those books out on time. And I happened to be one of the guys. I rarely got credit. I did a couple of times. If you follow my Instagram, I posted Uncanny X-Men 360, where they actually gave me credit. And I gotta tell you, I'm not 100% sure if I even inked anything on that issue. But it did have a number of different artists, so maybe I'd have to look at the whole issue again. But I did some Wolverine, Gambit. Uh, who am I thinking of? Cable, Deadpool. Um, yeah, I mean, I did some Iron Man, and I did a character called Century One Shot, which was 48 pages. Um, yeah, so I did a lot of overnight stuff, even though I'm not a fast inker. I could churn out a couple of pages overnight if need be. So obviously, I couldn't be as precious as I would like to be. um, I like to be very precious. I like every line to be exactly how I like it. I like the blacks to be jet black if I have the time, preference. I essentially like it to look like I printed the ink onto the page. Um, and don't always have that sort of time period. Um, but one of the things I wanted to sort of dive into was because of the industry changing so much, but even before that, like when computers were initially introduced to the public, because I remember taking math in grade school where we finished the semester early, with our courses and stuff. And I remember the teacher teaching us the fundamentals of computer logic, which are ones and zeros, and him trying to, wrap our brains around what was involved. But this was before computers were mass distributed and available and cheaper than the, you know, huge, gigantic computers of yesterday, and yeah. So I I thought because I always had a love for art. I always had a love of comics in one form or another, and I sort of in my brain put two and two together. Like, it's great to be working for the majors or even just popular books and whatever. Um, but those that go off on their own and create their own book and publish their own stuff, they 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 get some balls that the rest of us don't have, and also they benefit from that. Like, then they could do merch and they can do conventions with their own property, and always making money off of past issues. And it's like I work from home, I get a paycheck, and royalties are rare, more and more now. They barely existed in the 90s, um, unless you're working on a top tier book and you're doing the majority of the work. Oh, I hear a creature in the background. It's just my cat. Hey, Salazar is here. Welcome, sir. Frankie Frank. But yeah, it's the past. I don't even know, like the past few years specifically, with COVID and more people working at home from home. This sort of been a new renaissance of independent creators going out there creating their own books. And I have a love of superheroes, and I always wanted to do superheroes, but there's everybody out there with different interests and tastes, doing their own creations, and it's so phenomenally awesome. And I did a Kickstarter for Retro, and it was to get initial funding. I wasn't 100% prepared. I've learned so much since then, or actually while I was doing it, and since then. Um, and I promised to deliver this book, but I know I'll do that much better when I tackle my next crowdfunder, which will be hopefully this year. Once I got this book totally done and in the hands of those that pledged already, I plan to do an Indiegogo. And maybe I should set up a Indiegogo page, just, the preamble, getting people to sign up. Say, hey, if you want to know when it goes live, sign up for the page and all that jazz. I could do that without a definite date. So I think I might, maybe. Um, but yeah, it's like I realized, just common sense, that if I go boldly out there and work on my own book, I'll probably benefit from it more than you know any inking job I would get. And like specifically, I wanted to bring this up because I had a couple of conversations with my art rep. If you didn't know, Philip Ressert is my art rep, and his art repping company is Legendary Illustrators. And he wants to get me work, and I want to get work through him. But unfortunately, he's not working yet with any of the top independent publishers. Um, But I hear. Okay, I hear my cat outside. That's what it was. That's right. She went out. Now she wants in. She's scratching at the door. But that's okay. If I let her in, then she'll be nothing but trouble. Um, but yeah, so he wants me to get inking gigs through these you know, not top tier but less tier uh, indie publishers. And frankly, it's like I would love to work on a popular book character. Um, Even after all my years in the industry, it definitely helps to be consistently in the public's eye. And me working on my own book, not everybody knows about it. Trying to grow my YouTube channel. So if you aren't subscribed here, please subscribe. Like this video. Become a patron if you really want to help me out and help me improve everything I do. Um, yes, meow meow, I hear you. You don't hear me. Um, but the problem is inking rates, or just rates across the board, aren't what they were back in the 90s. Obviously, comics sold 10 million times better back in the 90s. That's why rates were better. But uh, I think, I know that, like, the bigger companies are making more mistakes than they are making good product. And I know if they focus their attention on a few things, they can be selling comics better. It's not just a result of, well, kids are distracted by video games, or they're watching more streaming movies, or whatever the case. It's like there's always going to be other media out there. And so what? It's like, if you consistently put out better books and stop cash grabbing, and just focus on quality again, and stop renumbering things, and stop doing events that change everything every year, it would be so much, you'd be doing so much better. So anyway, as a small independent self-publisher, that I will be at the end of the year, um, you know, I we all have to learn from our mistakes, and I'm just a solo guy. Even though I have people interested in working with me, I have to do it all myself first. And um, I'm going to learn from the mistakes I've made so far, and hopefully do a lot better next time, and so on and so on and so on. And really, the fact that I want to do superheroes is to really show that it can be done, and it can be done well, and it can be done right, and it can be done with creativity first, as opposed to the suits calling all the shots. I think we can make great money doing our own properties. And I hope to be one of the guys that, like, without blinking, like, my future Kickstarter Indiegogo will do like 25,000 more. With that kind of money, I could not only put out quality product, but then I can actually take some time and just focus on the work without having to take on odd jobs here and there. It's like I am working on currently my friend's book, Hawk in New York. I'm working on Designated, which is a graphic novel. Um, I got commissions. I got other things. I also want to make art because Rich helped me out with this issue, but I'll be the artist from issue 2 on. So I created, I'm going to be the writer, I'm going to be the penciler, I'm going to be the inker, and I'm also going to be coloring it. And it's a lot of freaking work. And, you know, if I can make really good money, then I can sort of have people that do the grunt work of things, the company work. um, but man, if things didn't change as drastically, I would have just stuck with inking along because I love it. It's not only the lines you create, but it's what's in between the lines, and you got a good sense of composition as well. Like more like balance of the work. As an inker, you could tweak it just so with thicks and thins and filling in blacks in certain areas, and it all has an effect on the final product. Obviously most things get colored nowadays and all that, but it should always work and make sense in black and white. So that's your job if you so choose it as an inker, or if you're just penciling your own work and you want to do the finishes as well. There's plenty of artists out there that are penciling, inking, coloring, and not all of them are just comic book artists. Some of them are just illustrators. Doing fan art or doing forest scenes or whatever. Illustration type fine art work. And I pretty much think like if anybody wants to be a full artist, that they should try their hand at inking. And I'm not talking traditionally specific. That's what I am. I'm going to attempt digital stuff, but I'm not going to give up my traditional stuff because I've been doing this too long and I love it too much. Now, mind you, if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, we ink our book, we'll give you 200 a page, but you got to get it done in 2 weeks." I'll say, "Okay, I'll do it digitally because that will be faster and I could turn it around in that amount of time. If I do it traditionally, it might take me longer." um, but yeah, I mean, it's like I trained myself when it came into this industry, and it's like I didn't. There wasn't anything in my life that I was super passionate about until I decided to work on comics for a living. Art in itself was precious, and that's fine and dandy. A lot of young people feel that way about art, but there's no reason why we shouldn't make money off of it. You know, we're providing a service just like a plumber or whatever. It's in the entertainment realm, but so is actors who do movies, and they get millions of dollars. I'm not asking for millions. It'd be nice. I'm not gonna lie. It'd be nice. God damn it. But I'd be happy just making 6 figures. I've yet to crack, what is it, 5? I don't know. Yeah, I guess 5. Um, but I had the pleasure of working with some of the former masters in this industry, and have a great appreciation of inkers throughout the years. Like I said, there's some fantastic digital inkers now. Um, but I grew up with, when there were newspapers around, and there still are, but it's just a fraction of what it used to be. Um, and there were quality illustrators doing not only like strip comics in the newspapers back when, but also like the political cartoons, and even um, what am I thinking? Like they used art and artists for everything back then. Um, Even when I was growing up, like 60s, 70s, 80s, um, they used them for fashion ads and advertisements for movies and all that. So Frank says, I've been practicing inking. It's not as easy as it looks. Most things aren't. I just digitally inked a few pages of Woman My Captain Novels and Mess Woman Comics. So are you saying that, when you say practicing inking, you just strictly doing it digitally? I think you are, but I could be wrong. Because it's definitely different. I've fooled around a little bit. Not necessarily digital inking, but I fooled around making art via the computer and using a pen, and in different sort of tablet forms and whatnot. Um, so I got a good sense of it. I watched some of my best friends, do digital webcomics, and I definitely see the benefit because even though it's like more technical, like you can build cars and weapons and stuff and sort of put them in drawings. So Frank says, I was practicing traditional inking, but also been doing digital inking. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that might be a good way to learn the benefits to both. Obviously, if you're looking to sell original art, I would recommend traditional, mastering that craft. Um, but if you do enough artwork and create enough merchandise around it, then you don't need to, in addition, sell the original artwork because you're just selling so much merchandise. Um, one of the things I do is I use the side of a brush, and I really should. I have like a sort of um, inking tutorial that I did with a friend of mine years ago, and one day I'll do a really balls out, get it professionally edited kind of dealio when it comes to inking. You know, you can learn from everybody is my motto, and I may not be saying, I may not be showing off any new techniques as far as inking. Um, and there's always going to be better people than me out there, but I believe you can learn something from everyone. And so, I know it would be worth for me to do it, since most people know me as an inker. I've dabbled in different stuff throughout the years, um, assisting people on their books, giving my opinion. I've been a consultant more than a few times, giving my insights. I've read tens of thousands of comics, and I definitely have my own opinions about what's good, what's not, what works, what doesn't. And that can be very helpful to those making their own books. 'Cause showing your book to somebody else gets more eyes on it, gets more, I know for me, it's like retro is so, um, I've been working on it so long, and I probably lose sight of what I think is on the page as opposed to what is on the page. So once I'm, near completion, I will send it to a few people and say, hey, just take a look. If you see anything wrong that stands out, let me know. If you think I missed anything, or something doesn't make sense, let me know. Whether it be in the script or it be in the art, coloring, what have you. I'm going for a very traditional coloring approach, more like an 80s comic for sure, rather than today's fancy. I was watching that video when I was doing traditional inking. I printed out some digital pencils, cards, and inked and colored them traditionally. Been merging both worlds to improve on both mediums. Yes. Yeah, man. It's like I know there are artists out there that, maybe they like inking digitally, but they like getting the you know, work on there by just doing traditional pencils. Some do like thumbnail it, then blow it up, then print it out blue line on some paper, and then ink traditionally. So it's either, it's whatever your preference is, and sometimes by using different methods, you get different results. You might get better results for a specific story or genre. Like if you're doing horror, you keep it creepy by doing certain techniques. I got little gnats flying around. It being summer coming up, we're pretty much there. Increase of the flies. Yeah, but I just love freaking inking, and I've been posting a lot more of my older work up on Instagram. If you haven't checked me out there, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook. I got a studio page. I already reached my limit as far as close personal friends on my regular profile, which is 5,000 people. I mean, I reached that years ago, but so if you want to follow me there, you can do me there. Well, you can actually, yeah, you can follow me even if we don't actually connect as friends. You can still follow my page, my profile page. I forget these things, but yeah, like I said, I'm really trying to pass 1,000 here. So it'd be appreciated if you like what I do to share out a video, share out my channel on your Facebook, on your Twitter, on your whatever TikTok, whatever you have. I don't have a TikTok, but maybe one day. And if you're a fellow creator, a comic maker, artist, writer, what have you, and you want to come on a program one day, I have this channel and I have another channel. The other channel is Creator Own Comics, and that's specifically an extension of my Facebook group, Creator Own Comics group. And, there I've been slacking, but there I'm going to be doing one-on-one interviews where I'm not working, and here I'll be working on my own stuff while talking to other creators. So you can get the best of both worlds. So obviously I'm trying to grow both channels, but this one specifically I've had the longest. Mostly been making videos and vlogs and streams, hangouts since about 2012 here. Although, if I was consistent, I'd probably have 100,000 subscribers, or at least a couple more. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, Vance. Welcome, sir. Welcome. Morning ain't, but good evening. Good evening to you. There's another fine fledged creator. Vance is a good guy and good artist. Cool. Whenever you need me to show Captain Goggles and Master Rolling Comics, I'll be on. As long as Vance isn't on. Oh, hey, Vance. Didn't you say you? Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. But yeah, specifically on my Instagram, although, I try to post the same stuff to my Facebook and Twitter, but most of it's on my Instagram. And like I said, some of my older work, some of it's really good if I do say so myself. I get totally lost in what I'm doing now that I forget a lot of what I've done. And some really nice work with a wide range of artists. And different styles and different approaches for me and them. And I always said I was a flexible inker, meaning I love to cater to the penciler's whims. If they have specific styles they want me to go with, then by all means, willing to adjust. And what I was saying before is like the best kind of artist for me to work with is somebody who's not super tight. Somebody's a little loose, not totally loose, but a little loose. Gives me opportunity to put my own stamp on the work and make me feel like I'm adding to it. If I feel like all I'm doing is repeating what the penciler put down, then it could be a drag. And I know a lot of people thought, like, when I was working on Cal Fury, that I'm almost mimicking the pencils, but that's not the case. It's minute details in a sense of a real skilled eye can pick up the differences. And each page was its own challenge, but some pages more than others where I added a lot more to it. I always try to punch up his work, but I also have to be totally aware that because his work is super tight, I can't punch it up too much in certain spots. Otherwise, I'd lose a lot of the detail he put on the page in the first place. So it's just things to keep aware of. But yeah, progress on my own book is going well. I mentioned, I'm doing Hawk in New York for my friend Randy Bishop. Doing a book called Designated, previously called Chosen Few, written by Mark Torres, to be published by Apex Comics Group. Doing covers for another old friend of mine for a future anthology Kickstarter. I'm doing a story for Wildcat Anthology. Let's see. Chat. Yes, everybody's talking to everybody. Okay, Salazar. And feel free. I see there's a bunch of people watching. Feel free to jump in the chat, question, or tell me what you're working on. I love to see people hang out and chat. Vance been seeing your public domain drawing video is really cool. Vance says, I hope do more near the end of July into August. Cool. And also, I mainly scribble when I pencil. Yeah, man. Scribbling is fun. Demental. Or something like that. But yeah, this has been great coming on tonight. You know, I still got another 11 minutes. I'll be on for an hour tonight. So if anybody has a question, or like I said, if you want to promote your book, I don't think links would show up, but you know, you can say it by name. Or if you do put links in there, I think I have to okay it after the video. So just let me know that you did attempt it as well. I think it needs my approval. Hey, it's Jay. Welcome. Fun. Demental. Yes. Peers in. Frank said, Vance, I wanted to do some, but held off. Now I see other channels drawing PD public domain characters. Yeah. Should do it, Salazar Art Nation. Doing a 8-page prequel mini for Masculine. I have 4 pages done. Cool. Yeah, if I wasn't so busy, I'd probably do a mini comic. But me and Jay are working on a comic, which I have to get on script, but I suck, so I got to work on that. Doing too much. It's been a hell of a week. It's been a crazy week. You know, I've woken up half this week thinking, like I started working at the cat sanctuary just outside of town a couple of times a week, if it goes that way. And I woke up half this week thinking I was going in, and it's like it ruins my morning at least if I think I'm going to be going out to work a much more physical job. Shifts my priorities. So I think we got to come up with a better system. But I do love going out and helping the kitties. There's about 50 out there. It's crazy. As if I don't have enough terrors of my own. One of which I'm sure after the stream I'm going to have to go out and look for. Because she stopped whining at the door. That's how it goes. And real Arcadian says, the joys of having to set up additional email accounts for work and then spending time on a Zoom call trying to fix it and then calling 2 separate phone numbers. Apparently I suck worse, but what else is new? I know. No, no. Vance is trying to tell Frank to do stuff. Do it. That's what they say. Do it. And pretty much what I've been touting is create your own characters like Frank. Using public domain characters. I know that's a thing for some people. I never got into it myself, but yeah, I rather create my own stupid heroes. Succeed or fail on their own. Jay says, actually, Chief, I want to ask you if I can link the previous stream on my DA page. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Hey, man, I accept promotion in all forms. Please share this with your friends. I'm also on DA, as you know. So if you want to include me in your journal post or whatever it's going to be, by all means. I was actually there today, even though I haven't really posted much in the last, I don't know, 4 months, maybe. I love DA. It's just everything's additional work. And I decided, to focus more on less sites. It seems I'm like talking with more people. Like previous to this, I was streaming with a bunch of friends while we were working throughout the day. And when I got messaged by another friend of mine, Les Linden, messaged me and to join his Discord where I chat with people. I had a Discord for my Human Studios has comics, but I took that down and created a simplified one. Well, basically one with nothing on it. I do want to create an effective one. Just not finding the time at the moment. Perhaps over the summer I'll put something together. But it's like I'm a part of different Discords, and I find them phenomenal for connecting with everybody. But I want to create my own, and specifically do my sort of own chit chats over there. Different times. What's this? Oh, okay. Trying to remember Richard's costume. See what happens when you don't have character sheets. To go by. Well, I'm gonna have to clearly define this character, especially going forward. My version is gonna be different than Richard's version of the character. Some costume specifics will be slightly different. Some, his face and hairstyle slightly different. And I wasn't happy with the top of his mask, so maybe I'll find a better solution for that. But yeah, I'll mention again, please like this video if you haven't already. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm trying to pass 1,000, and last I looked, I'm 130 away from that happening. Become a patron if you're not already. I always mean to do stuff there, but frankly, if you're a fan of my work or of me, or just comics in general, go there and pledge anything a month. $1, $5, $10, more. If you come from rich parents, um, but yeah, just any little bit helps. There's a lot I'm setting out to do. Not only retro, but another book called Rena. I want to do a sketchbook. If I get to it this year, I'll do one. And a lot more. I have a lot more planned than that, but based off of how the first part of this year has gone, things are going slower than planned. Usually seems the case, but I hope a lot more productivity with the remainder of this year. But yes, so I made some progress. Can't really zoom in further than I already am, but you can see the little tiny details. I said this before, this is my Turk type character. If you read Daredevil at all, Turk is like a sort of loser criminal kind of guy. And this is my version of him, and Retro's sort of playing with his mind a little bit. So I have some fun with that. Yeah, I really like, a lot of my writing is going to evolve issue over issue, and I have a billion ideas. Some I wrote down, some are just in my head. A good 25 issues worth. There's a major story arc we won't get until later. There's all kinds of fun stuff coming up, and yeah, Turk is one of those characters I want to play with and have him show up now and again. He's in the first issue. There's a main villain called Diamond. I say that's in homage to the comic store that opened up near my childhood home, the first comic store I went to, essentially. But maybe it's a jab at Diamond Distributors. That could be a possibility too. We'll see what the final script looks like. But yeah, I dig streaming on here, and at the moment I'm thinking streaming twice a week. There's no set schedule per se. I'd love to do more. I just have to really hammer on my schedule. I got too many things going on, but love you all. Thanks for coming. Totally appreciate it. Thanks for everybody who chatted in the chat. Love you all. Till next time. Keep working on your comics, working on your